They say the knife that hurts the most is the one you never see coming. For 10 years, Marcus was more than a business partner. He was my brother. Together, we built an empire from dust, a legacy meant to outlive us both. But ambition is a dangerous thing. It rots the foundation of loyalty, slowly, quietly. I remember the exact moment the world stopped. Tuesday, 11:42 p.m. The files on his desk. It wasn't a mistake. It was a calculation, carefully planned for months. I looked back at every smile, every handshake, every trust me. It was all a performance. When you realize the person holding your safety net is the one cutting the rope, you don't scream. You just freeze. And in that silence, you realize that everything you knew was a lie. This isn't a story about business. It's about the cost of blind faith in a world that sells souls for equity. My name is Elias, and tomorrow, I have to destroy the only man I ever trusted. But before the end, you need to understand the beginning. You need to see how the trap was set. To understand the fall, you have to understand the climb. We didn't start in a boardroom. We started in a basement with nothing but debt and a dream. Marcus was the visionary. I was the architect. He sold the dream, and I built the reality. We were untouchable. 5 years in, we were the kings of the city. The skyline belonged to us. The money didn't just flow, it poured. But success changes people. For me, it was validation. For Marcus, it was never enough. It was a hunger that couldn't be fed. The cracks didn't appear overnight. They started in the shadows. Closed door meetings, missing pages in the ledger, late nights he couldn't explain. When I asked him about the offshore accounts, he laughed. He called me paranoid. "It's tax efficiency, Elias," he said. "Trust me." That phrase, "trust me," it became his shield. But by then, I was already looking behind the shield. I started tracking the money, small amounts at first, then millions, all funneling into a shell company I'd never heard of. He wasn't just stealing profits. He was leveraging our assets. He was gambling our entire legacy on something illegal. I knew I couldn't confront him without proof. Hard, undeniable proof. So I became a ghost in my own company. To catch a thief, you have to become one. Tuesday night, Marcus was at the charity gala. The tower was supposed to be empty. I had his key card. I had his password, but I didn't have his nerve. My hands were shaking as I swiped the lock. The server room, the brain of the empire we built. Somewhere in these drives was the proof that would send my brother to prison. I bypassed the first firewall. Then the second. He had buried the Janus files deep, behind layers of encryption meant to keep me out. Found it. Project Icarus. A schematics file for a building that didn't exist. I hit download, and then I heard it. The elevator. Someone was on the floor. I wasn't alone. I froze. The footsteps were heavy, confident. I knew that walk. It wasn't security. It was him. Marcus stopped right outside the glass. If he turned his head 3 inches to the left, it was over. The download was at 85%, 99%, 100%. I grabbed the drive. He walked on. I didn't breathe until I was 3 blocks away, shaking in the rain. I opened the files. I expected embezzlement. I expected theft. But what I saw, God, it was worse. It was blood money. I didn't run. I didn't go to the police. Not yet. I went to his office, and I waited. He walked in at 2 a.m. He looked tired, human. For a second, I almost forgot what he was. Almost. I didn't say a word. I just slid the drive across the desk. The sound of plastic hitting glass was the loudest thing in the world. I expected fear. I expected denial. But Marcus, he just smiled. A cold, dead smile I had never seen before. "You think you're noble, Elias?" he asked. "You think this city was built on clean hands? It was built on blood. I just negotiated the price." I screamed at him. I told him about the families he destroyed, the lives he traded for profit. He didn't even blink. "Destroy me," he whispered, "and you destroy everything we built. You go down with me, brother." He was right. I was the architect. My name was on the blueprints. If he fell, I fell. I looked him in the eye. "Then we fall," I said, and I walked out. I didn't go home. I sat in my car and watched the lights come, blue and red, the colors of the end. The headlines called it the scandal of the decade, the architect of fraud. They loved the fall even more than they loved the rise. It took 3 years for the trials, 5 years to dismantle everything we built. The assets, the buildings, the legacy gone. I walked through the office one last time. It was just a room, Without the ambition, without the lies, it was just steel and glass. Marcus never looked at me during the sentencing. He got 15 years. I got immunity for testifying. I'm not sure who got the worst deal. People ask me if it was worth it, burning down my own house just to kill the rat inside. I lost my fortune. I lost my reputation. I lost my best friend. But last night, for the first time in 20 years, I slept. And that is priceless. Silence.